the success path. If you are not sure of how to begin the process, we spoke just now about the IELTS and the English proficiency exam and the change in that regard. And for any viewers who are maybe not sure how to go about that process and how does the IELTS fit in, or how does the Pearson PTE or the OET fit in, please always refer to the Connetics USA success path. So if we put that success path back up, you can see that at that step number 4 is that where we talk about the English proficiency exam. And we're going to jump ahead now to step number 7, which is enjoy and prosper. So we're going to be talking about in the second half of the show, coming to the United States, because many nurses know, or many healthcare workers know, that the process is so complicated. As Mukul said, there's the English exam, there's the NCLEX. If you're a medtech, there's the ASCPI. There's, trying to keep your skills up. There's learning a lot of things when you come to the United States. So there's a lot of challenges to get to the United States. And many healthcare workers think when you get here, it's just you enjoy and prosper, all good. In reality, doesn't always work exactly like that. So this is why on Onwards and Upwards, we like to prepare you. If you are sitting outside of the United States, waiting to come in, maybe you already started your immigration, or maybe you haven't even started your NCLEX yet. These are some of the challenges that you might expect when you come into the United States. So we've categorized for today's second half of the show 3 main challenges. You're going to have challenges from a financial perspective. You're going to have challenges from a clinical perspective of how you adjust. And you're also going to have challenges on the community, because you are uprooting yourself, or if you have a family, your spouse or kids, and you're coming to a new place where you maybe don't know anybody. So we're going to be breaking that down for you a little bit and talking about how healthcare workers can navigate that process. Because when you come into the US, you're also going to experience what we call culture shock. We actually have done shows on culture shock, and we have a graph that I would encourage everybody to refer to. You come in, it's the honeymoon phase. You can't believe you've passed the IELTS, the NCLEX, the OET, the Pearson PTE. You got your visa screen, and you got your green card or your TN visa, and you're now in the US. You're usually in the honeymoon phase. And then often it's not uncommon that you have what we call the dip. The dip is where you have a lot of things to learn. There's a lot of change. But the good news is, if you see this graph and you know what's coming, you know that you're going to go through adjustment after a few months, and you know that you're going to adapt. So it's really important for any nurses who are thinking of coming to the US, or here in the US in your first few months, or about to arrive in the US, to always keep this culture shock diagram in your mind. So we're going to move now into talking about the financial challenge, because this is something that many nurses experience in those first few months when they arrive here. We want to enjoy and prosper, but it doesn't happen overnight. So we're going to bring in a favorite of our show, that is Blair from Advance Shield. And Blair's going to be talking to us a little bit about the financial challenge and how you can overcome that. Welcome, Blair. We don't hear you, Blair. We can't hear you. Okay. Well, while Blair's working on her audio, just to talk a little bit about what those financial challenges can be. So I was an immigrant myself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, Blair.
Sorry,
okay,
I had to play
around everybody.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No problem. So Blair, for the next few minutes, we're going to be talking a little bit about the financial challenges that many healthcare workers will experience in the beginning when they arrive in the United States. We want to come in and enjoy and prosper, as that 7 steps of success path indicates, live the American dream, but it doesn't happen overnight. So in the beginning, finances might be limited. There can be unexpected expenses. Maybe you're not getting a paycheck with as much money as you thought initially. You didn't realize how the taxes work. So there's a lot of things to think about on the financial side. So Blair, I know that you're no stranger to Onwards and Upwards. You're one of our favorites, so welcome back. For those viewers who don't know who Blair is, Blair, if you want to go ahead and do just a quick introduction. A bit of a background about you.
Okay, sounds great. My name's Blair Blanchard, and I am the Community Development Officer for Advanced Federal Credit Union. I am in Lafayette, Louisiana, but we have branches in various states within the United States. But we also have access around the country and worldwide access through our mobile and online banking. Advanced has been around for quite some time. We're celebrating 85 years this year. But we have a specific program that is designed for people in your situation and members like you called our Inbound USA program. So, establishing a U.S. banking relationship can be very difficult for people who are recently relocated to the U.S., but we have over a decade of experience in easing that transition to the American banking system for international assignees with different products and requirements that are tailored to your specific needs. So it makes our services available to you prior to even receiving your social security number. And you can apply as early as 7 days before arrival into the US. So we have that program specifically designed for you. And I know a lot of you know about it, a lot of you may not, but any questions that you have, that's why I'm here today.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Blair. Advantial is a great partner of Connetics USA, so you will get that resource as a Connetics nurse or healthcare worker. In fact, we always refer to it as on our circle of support. So our circle of support are all the different ways that we help healthcare workers when they arrive in the United States. Lots and lots of different resources and information and services that we provide when you arrive to help make that transition. And under the financial side, under that one little circle called, not little circle, but important circle, the community resources, that is where Advantial fits in. So Blair, can you share with everybody who's watching, and feel free everybody to put any questions in the chat if you have questions for Blair about the services that Advantial can offer you when you arrive in the United States. Maybe you have questions about opening a bank account, maybe you have questions about credit and how to build your credit, maybe you have questions about car loans. So Blair, can you share with everybody, I know you've been working with international nurses for a while now, why is it so important to have a resource like Advantial as a trusted Connetics USA partner when you arrive in the United States, just from a broad overview perspective?
Okay, well, we have different banking systems in the US, and one of the great things about when you sign on with Connetics is that you have access to a video called Banking in the US from us, and it explains our entire not just our banking process, but the whole process of banking and the different types of institutions in the United States. But something that a lot of people don't understand, that a lot of things that you need for our US banking system involves your credit. So credit is a very important tool in the United States. And unfortunately, if you had a credit history before moving to the US, credit does not cross borders. So it works very differently from country to country. And that means that your previous credit history, whether it was good or bad, will not count towards your US credit scores. So when you come here and you try to buy a car loan or a credit card or any of those banking products that you need access to, you're going to be denied because you don't have a credit history and don't have a US banking history. If you do not get denied, most financial institutions will have you rated in a very high tier with interest rates that are not favorable to anyone, much less someone in your situation. So there's a lot of various factors that are weighted, and credit in the US is a completely separate topic from this. But what we have at Advantial is a program designed for you guys that you do not need your social security number. You do not need a credit history or a banking history here in the US. Everybody is on a level playing field. Your APR is reasonable and conservative and favorable to your situation, and you're able to have access to loan products, auto loans, credit cards, and even mortgages through our program.
Thank you, Blair. And this is really very important for international nurses. As many of our viewers know, I was an immigrant myself. I came here on the 4th of July. It was my 22nd anniversary of arriving in the United States. And I've often shared the story of when I went to buy a car. for the first time. My kids were little. I went with my husband. My kids were all excited to go buy a car. The salesman was excited to see us. He thought he was going to make a sale. We were new immigrants from South Africa. We didn't even know what credit was. We didn't know how the banking system worked. And I remember very clearly that the salesman being very excited, and then he went and obviously checked our credit. We didn't know that that's what was happening. And then he came back to us and he said, "You have no credit." And we were like, "What is that?" It was just like such a shock to us. We didn't even know that such a thing existed. So if you don't know what credit is, please go to the Connetics USA website, and there is an article, and you can actually see it in the chat, how to build your credit for the first time. So Blair, can you share with all the viewers, when a nurse arrives in the United States, it's obviously important for them to establish themselves financially. So how does someone go about opening a bank account? Like the very first step?
My first suggestion, obviously, would be to do your research and find a financial institution, if not Advantial, one that has a program specifically designed for someone in your situation. But in order to open a bank account, you would need to verify your identification, gather all of the documents necessary, your passports, have your full legal name, and then you would have to fill out an application, which is conveniently done online. Through your onboarder, complete your application, and then Connetics is very generous to fund the savings account. So our accounts do not require a minimum balance as far as checking goes, but as for your savings account, you have that $5 fee that goes into your account, and it's your share into the company. Connetics actually funds that for all of their employees. So that's a very, very good perk, and one less thing you have to worry about. But there's an application process that takes a couple of days that you do online. You cannot apply until you are 7 days out from your departure. And with that, you can apply for your savings account, your checking account, where you have access to checks, credit cards, your debit card, and then also our credit card program, and then auto loans. So once you get here, that you're all ready to get all of those options taken care of. But everything is done online.
Okay, so that's really helpful and very user-friendly, Blair. We know that we love working with Advantial. It's a great resource for our international nurses, and it is part of the Connetics Care package that we pay for that setup fee for all international nurses. I see we have some questions in the chat, but I don't see any for credit or for banking. So Blair, I think we're gonna finish off now. But I know that Blair will definitely be back. We love having her on the show, and we really are very grateful for your partnership, because we know that that's one of the biggest struggles that we have for our international healthcare workers when they arrive in the United States. So this is a huge, huge advantage. If you have not watched the show on credit history, please check that out. On our Facebook and our social channels, Blair was on that show and explained credit history in a lot more detail as well. Thank you for joining us, Blair.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I see we have a question from Naimat, who's asking about how much experience is needed before starting the whole process. Naimat, we have positions for new grads. So if you are interested in coming to the United States, interested in finding out more about the English proficiency exam, about Advantial and the advantages that we can give you as a Connetics USA nurse or healthcare worker, please go and apply right now, and our team will be on board to help you with the next steps and getting you to the United States. When you come to the United States, though, the next challenge that you probably might have is on making a clinical transition. So clinical transition is where the way that you practice as a nurse in the US is very different to the way that you might practice overseas. So as part of the Connetics Circle of Support, we have a piece on that Circle of Support which talks about education. You'll see that on the far right-hand side. And the right-hand side is where we talk about education and how, as a Connetics USA nurse or healthcare workers, we will help you and the facility make a smooth transition. We're going to bring in Holly. Holly is the clinical educator from Connetics. Holly, also no stranger to the show. Welcome.
Good morning, Tanya. How are you this morning?
Good. Thank you for joining us. We've got a full lineup today. We've been speaking about the change from the CGFNS. We've been talking about financial challenges when you get here, and now we're going to talk a little bit about the clinical challenges that that a nurse might make in that transition. So, first of all, Holly, for those viewers who don't know who you are, if you can maybe give us a brief introduction.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Holly Musselwhite. I am a registered nurse with about 22 years of nursing experience, but in a variety of different settings. So I've worked in acute care here in the U.S. and also been part of international staffing and international direct hire like we're doing with Connetics. And I've worked with long-term care facilities as well. So what we call the post-acute care side of things. And in doing that, I've had a lot of wonderful experience working with nurses from all over the globe. It's part of what I think when I left the industry for a little while, what drew me back is seeing how nurses from all different walks of life and backgrounds come here and realize their dreams. So I'm excited to be a small part of that, and happy to answer any questions if there's anything else I can share.
Thank you, Holly. So this is a big topic, clinical transitions and transition from practice outside of the US to practice inside of the US. In your experience, can you tell us about what that can be like for international nurses?
So I think it's often something that they're probably least concerned about when they first get here. And you talked about the honeymoon stage of culture shock. They're probably under the assumption that things are going to go a certain way. And that may be reflected in how they were oriented in previous jobs that they've had, thinking that the orientation here will closely align with previous experience. And they also may assume that, there's going to be a certain structure to the orientation that will meet their individual needs. And hospitals and other facilities in healthcare these days have certainly broadened what they offer to nurses who are coming both from overseas and their new graduates. And there are a variety of different programs out there. But we still find that nurses can become very stressed in the first few weeks to months that they're there as they realize some of the changes that they didn't anticipate. And on top of that, as you mentioned, there's financial concerns, there's community challenges that they face. And so all of those forces can come to bear all at once. And it can make it very difficult day to day to get excited about going to work in your new setting. So what we've spoken about a little bit before, and you mentioned it, Connetics and the education side is very important for a nurse to be aware that even though they may be a senior nurse in the place where they currently live and work, they may be highly respected even in the community. They're the ones that, people who don't feel good call them up and say, hey, I don't feel good. Tell me what I should do, because they've become very seasoned in their experience and in their comfort level. And so when they get here and they feel almost that sense of, wait, I'm very experienced, I'm very knowledgeable, but I feel like a novice. What we want to do is go back to those education principles and make sure that the nurse is prepared to refresh certain things that they may have learned over the years, and also understand there are going to be some new things. It doesn't detract from their experience that they've built prior to coming to the US, but it certainly can create some frustration and feelings of self-doubt when certain things crop up that they understood were standard where they've come from before, and now they're seeing something different here in the US.
Okay. So important probably for healthcare workers when they arrive in the United States to know that this can happen. Because if you don't really know about it, you could think it's just you that is maybe feeling overwhelmed, stressed, frustrated, and just just kind of a little bit off kilter when you arrive here.
Yes. And I think what we do at Connetics is we work with our hospitals to explain those frustrations are going to come from the nurse as well, but they may not be expressed as I'm unhappy or I'm stressed. It may come out that, they were doing pretty well with their orientation. And then they had a period where they're showing maybe a little bit of regression of progress, because all of those forces can kind of come into play at one time. The other thing is formal learning that we may have access to. You have to be somewhat self-driven. So if you say, I know this, I don't need to worry about this, and you get there and you start to realize that there are some things you don't know, we would hope that you would reach out and that you would look for access to information, because many times, well, all the time, we can't read people's minds. So we don't know sometimes what you don't know. I can ask you today, do you know how to start an IV? And many of the nurses on this will say, absolutely, I'm the IV king or queen where I work. Some nurses will say, I'm not allowed to do that. Someone else has to do that procedure. And yet here in the United States, that's a very common procedure. It's very matter of fact that we're going to start an IV. We may use equipment to do that has a lot more technology. We may use different steps to the procedure or different orders to that procedure, because we have evidence that shows if we do this, it reduces the risk of a blood infection. So the idea is, when you see those differences coming in, start looking for information. Connetics and many of the partners that we work with in healthcare offer some online modules ahead of your arrival that give you the opportunity to look at those things step by step. It's a large library of information. We don't want to do that too early in your process, but we also know that even when you get here, sometimes you're like, I need more information. And so what we want to do is work with you, work with the hospitals and the facilities you're at to make sure that information is there for you, because not everybody's going to have the same questions about the same thing. So we want to make it very broad.
And make it tailored as much as possible to you and to the facility.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you, Holly. I see we have a question in the chat from Gospel Banquet, who's saying, I passed my NCLEX last month and IELTS this month, July. Congratulations. Do you have facilities in Wisconsin, long-term care or acute? Gospel Banquet, we have facilities all over the United States. So please go to the Connetics USA website and apply, and our team will be in touch with you to see how best we can help you. And you will be working with Holly and the clinical nurse educating team, who will be helping with the transition before you arrive in the United States, as she just explained, as well as working with you and the facility to help make the transition as smooth as possible. So thank you for joining us, Holly. And there's going to be more coming from Holly, everybody. So stay tuned. More coming from Holly on specifics of how you can prepare for the transition of coming to the United States, because this can be a big worry for many international healthcare workers. And that is where the circle of support, if we look at that circle of support, it really is a very comprehensive, robust system that we look at a lot of different ways to help you to make a smooth transition and set you up for success. So the last part of the transition that we're going to be looking at is the Connetics Angel Network. And we're going to be bringing in Beatrice, who's going to be joining us and talking about the community. Thank you for joining us, Holly. The community, one of the biggest challenges, and here we have Beatrice joining us. Welcome, Beatrice.
Thank you.
So one of the biggest challenges that international nurses or workers can experience when they arrive in the United States is, not just the financial, not just the clinical transition, not just the culture shock and all the emotions that go with that, but also being ripped out of their community back home, where they had familiarity, where they had friends, where they had family, where they had relatives, colleagues that they worked with, that they were familiar with. So this can be a big challenge for international workers. Beatrice, let's have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Beatrice Waidaka. I am a registered nurse. I work here in Kentucky in a hospital called Peace Hospital at the UFL. I originally came from Kenya. I was born in Kenya, and I came in the United States of America as an international nurse.
Thank you, Beatrice. Did you always want to come to America?
Oh yeah, I prayed. It was a dream. It was a desire. I had a desire that one day I'm gonna come to America, and I kept praying about it, and I kept hoping and trusting, and it came to be. That's why
Okay.
I'm here.
And you are here, living your American dream.
Living my American dream, sure.
And sharing that with many, many nurses and healthcare workers all over the world. And that's what we love about Onwards and Upwards, because it's really nurses helping nurses. So Beatrice, tell us a little bit about when you first came to America and what the challenges were that you experienced from a community perspective.
One of the challenges I faced when I came is that I came as an international student. And so I went to school, I met new people, people speaking like different language. I can say it was different a little bit because of the accent, and it was not easy. At some point, I felt discouraged, and I thank God because I got people who were able to encourage me, and I kept moving on despite the cultural shock. We know the stages of cultural shock, that at some point you reach the frustration stage, whereby if you don't get anybody to encourage you, or you don't encourage yourself, you may feel stressed and depressed out.
Yeah. And that's really that diagram that we showed, that culture shock diagram. And we can put up that culture shock diagram again. But it sounds, Beatrice, that you experience that dip, that second step, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel very stressed out, and you can feel very alone. It sounds like you experience that.
Yes, I experienced that, and I was thinking, did I make a good decision of coming here? Though I am a woman of faith, and I believe in God, I believe in the Word of God, I believe in the Bible, I encourage myself. Though I am that, at some point I was thinking, oh, did I make a good decision? Do I need to go back to my country? What should I do? Because I'm a human being, I have the flesh and the blood, even if I have faith. So there was such a time that I felt I need to go back to my country.
Yeah. And this is very common as well for many people who make such a big change, where you have a break a big break from your community, and there's so much so much coming at you, so many things to learn, that it can be very stressful in those first few weeks and months. And you mentioned, Beatrice, that you had community when you first arrived. Who was that community?
One of the community I call community is my family, my only family. Like, I came here through my sponsor, who is my sister.
Okay.
So I lived with my sister. She is a destiny connector to me, and her whole family were a source of encouragement. They encouraged me just to keep focusing on my goals. And then the other community is the church. I joined the church, and the church members kept on encouraging me. We had our pastor who kept on encouraging us, and we kept focusing on the goal until now we were able to overcome.
Okay, well, thank you for giving some hope and some insight into how you got through that dip period. If we look at the circle of support again, you can see, as a Connetics USA nurse, you have at the bottom of that circle, it says places of worship. So when you arrive in the United States, we will provide you, if that is something that's important to you, like it was to Beatrice, the places of worship that, if you are a Christian and you're looking for the churches, if you're a Muslim, looking for the mosques, if you're looking for the temples, the synagogues, whatever your denomination is, and if that's important to you, we will give you that information when you arrive. And we also have an initiative called the Connetics Angel Network. So we're going to hear just a short video from Rainey, who is the leader of the Connetics Angel Network. She was not able to be with us today, but she made a short video just talking about her experience and why she wanted to be part of that initiative. So we're going to show that video now.
Hello everyone, my name is Rainy. I not only work as part of Connetics, but I'm also a Connetics nurse. Connetics has done such a tremendous job in guiding me and my family to the United States. The journey to where we are has been a very long and winding road, but with the help of Connetics USA, we are grateful to now be living the dream. As part of the onboarding team, I feel so blessed to have been given the opportunity to be a part of the establishment of the Connetics Angel Network, and to be able to help other nurses who are in the same position that I was once in a few years ago. It really is a humbling experience to be able to extend help to my fellow nurses that are facing challenges by sending them Connetics Angels as part of their circle of support.
And thank you to Rainy. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here, but we're glad that she made a message for us just to talk about her experience. She was originally from the Philippines, lived in different parts of the world. I think she lived in Singapore, UK before she came to the US. And her story is very common to Beatrice, where she came here. It was very difficult in the beginning, very difficult without a community. And she's is the leader on the Connetics Angel side. So the Connetics Angel Network is essentially angels. Beatrice is an angel.
I'm an angel for sure.
We are proud to have Beatrice as a Connetics angel and many other angels around the United States. And a Connetics angel, just for everybody who doesn't know, is somebody who's been in the United States for 6 months and longer, who volunteers to mentor and help newly arrived nurses. So Beatrice spoke about having her family or the church that helped her initially. If you go to a place where you don't have that, or maybe religion is not important to you, how do you get through that initial transition? So Beatrice, first of all, why did you decide to become a Connetics angel?
I decided to become a Connetics angel because, first of all, because of the experience. If you pass through as a test and you come through, then you'll be able to understand how the other people are feeling when they are passing through the same test. So because I passed through that test and I overcame it, I decided now I need to encourage people. If I did not get somebody to encourage me, maybe I would have lost hope. But because I got somebody to encourage me, I got my own family, I got the church members, then I was able to overcome. So I decided, because I have that experience, I have been in such shoes whereby you feel discouraged, you feel like you lose hope. Now I need to help people who are losing hope, who are facing a lot of discouragement, who are facing a lot of difficulties. I need to give them hope. And then the second thing is that's my calling. My calling is to give hope. As a minister, I'm a minister of the gospel too. I help people by giving them hope. That is my calling. I feel I needed to do it. I feel much fulfilled when I encourage somebody who is discouraged, when I meet somebody who is facing difficulties and I help them. I feel some kind of joy flowing in me. So I joined the Connetics Angel or Circle of Support because that is my calling and that is my area of work, like spiritually.
Well, Beatrice, you I know, touched so many people's hearts. We can all feel your passion and your love, and then you really are a Connetics angel, just being there for other people and helping them through that transition period when they arrive in the United States. And we love the fact that, well, we don't love the fact that you had a difficult time, but we love the fact that you've used that experience to help others and pay it forward for others. And that's really what the Connetics Angel Network is. So we, it's part of the Connetics Care Package. We have Connetics as part of our paying it forward, pay Beatrice and the other Connetics angels that are there for nurses and will mentor and help them through that transition time. And really, it's our way of paying it forward, just because we just really feel so strongly about that, and we can see Beatrice's passion in that regard. Beatrice, can you share with everybody maybe an example of where you have served as a Connetics angel and maybe helped one specific nurse and how that went?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I have helped several struggling nurses, and I remember one incident that I was connected to by Rainy. One of the nurses was suffering because she did not manage to pass the competency exam. That is the exam that you do when you come to the new job. There is that exam that is given. So she could not pass the competency exam, and so she got the news that she gonna be taken off the schedule. That's so discouraging when you receive the news that now, because you did not pass the exam and you are not meeting the expectations of your employer, and then you receive the news that you're going to be removed from the schedule. So when I was connected to that a nurse who was passing those difficult situation, I was able to talk to her. I made an initiative of visiting her. I went and we talked for 1 hour. We reviewed the problem, and by that time we called it the challenge, because when you call a challenge a problem a challenge, it shows that you are optimistic, you are not being pessimistic. So we said, this is not a problem, this is a challenge, and you're going to overcome. So we tried to see the ways she could improve, and one way was to study for the exam and to research in the net, in the online. We talked, and I told her, just study again, just be confident, just believe in yourself, you can do this, and then go do the exam again. And I tell you, she took my words. She researched online, she studied, she get the confidence, and when she went to do the exam, she passed. So I encouraged her. I kept calling her. I told her, in case you need to call me any time of the day, during the night, this is my number, call me. I gave her a shoulder to lean on. And I tell you, she passed the exam. She was not removed from the schedule. And today she told me, I think I'm going to become a preceptor in the near future, Beatrice. That's the news I received from her. So I'm so happy that I have ever been able to encourage somebody and to tell somebody you can do it, and they did it.
Wow. You can make me cry, Beatrice. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for the way that you help another healthcare worker, a fellow nurse, going the extra mile. Really, kudos to you. We are so grateful to have you as part of the Connetics Angel Network, and we have many Connetics Angels just like Beatrice. If you are coming to the United States with Connetics USA and you are struggling in the beginning or just need a friend to reach out to, we have our Connetics Angel team that are there, just like, all of them are just like Beatrice, the biggest hearts, and just we are so proud to have you as part of the Connetics Angel Network. So thank you so much, Beatrice, for joining us. Nemat is saying, wow, great job.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us. And that brings us to the end of the show. Before everybody leaves, please make sure to check out the upcoming shows. We have upcoming shows on on Onwards and Upwards every Friday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And next Friday on the 22nd, we have our immigration Q&A. We have our legal experts coming in to answer your legal questions. On the 29th, we have a very interesting show on transportation. In most places in the United States, you have to drive and you have to buy a car. So very important show on transportation and how that's going to work when you come to the United States. And then on the LaFora talk show, we have our first licensing Q&A. This is your chance to ask the experts. So please join us. This is once a month. In July, on the 19th of July, we'll have our licensing Q&A, and we'll have a team that will be answering any of your licensing questions, both the Connetics USA representatives as well as O'Grady Payton, which is part of our AMN family, will be there to answer your Q&A questions. Connetics initiatives, also don't forget, So we have a free IELTS scholarship for all Connetics USA nurses, and this will change from the 1st of August because it's not going to be just IELTS. It'll be a free course. We provide a free course, both if you choose OET, if you choose IELTS, or if you choose Pearson PTE, you will have a free course. We also have our NCLEX scholarship. So if you have not yet passed the NCLEX, please apply to the Connetics USA website, and our team will see if you're eligible for the scholarship. We had a new promotion, a $1,000 referral bonus. This is if you have passed the NCLEX, you yourself, the nurse. This promotion ends on the 30th of July. You are eligible for a $1,000 referral bonus, and check out our website for details. Check out our podcast, Nursing in America. We're in the top 10% of podcasts worldwide. We also, I see we had a question about nurse aides. We also have a nurse aid program. Watch our show every Friday, Onwards and Upwards. Our Connetics College every Monday, live show for Global RN education. And also if you are a medical lab technologist, technician, respiratory therapist, surgical tech, a cardiology tech, sterile processing, and more, we have jobs for you. So thank you everybody for joining us. Today was a very jam-packed day. We spoke about lots of topics. I hope it gave you a lot of information, insight, and as Beatrice said, hope. That's what Onwards and Upwards is all about. So on until the next show, onwards and upwards, everybody. Thank you for joining us.